And among the most enthusiastic professionals in this field, there is one that I met in the last few years, Paul Rogers from ACC Glazing and Facades, a consultancy firm located in Sweden. And Paul Rogers has, he has been working with Daylight for many, many years. And lately, his Daylight group is growing quite a lot. But I think I should leave the word to him so he can introduce himself. And he will speak about what is today being a Daylight specialist, what was yesterday, what is today, and what it will be in the future. So, Paul.
Thank you very much, Nico. Thank you. I'm just going to try to share my screen here.
Absolutely.
Okay, can everybody see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. As Nico said, my name is Paul Rogers, and I'm a Daylight specialist at ACC Glas and Facade in Stockholm. I had a group of 8 Daylight specialists. I've been working in the building industry for about 25 years now, and the last 15 years as a full-time Daylight consultant. Just now, we've got an active caseload of somewhere between 200 and 250 active projects. But you have to wonder, it hasn't always been this way. How did it get this? So I've been around for a while, and I've seen a lot of change in the industry. And I hope you agree that to know where you're going, it's very useful to see where you've been. So that's why I put together this presentation today. Daylight Specialist, Past, Present, and Future. Now, I'll be talking mainly about the Swedish context today, but I think it is true there's a lot of parallels to be drawn and lessons to be learned for other countries. Now, before I go too far, I have to give a little bit of credit where credit is due. I put this presentation together with my 8-year-old daughter, Lily. I'm always helping her with her homework, so I figure it was about time she gave me a little help with mine. So our story starts when years began with a 9, or sorry, began with a 1. I don't know how many of you remember that, but it was a while ago. And I came out of the University of Manitoba in Canada School of Architecture with a master's degree. I just completed my thesis on regarding microclimate, but I had a background with energy and Daylight as well. But when I came out into the market, there just doesn't seem to be much interest. Of course, I'm from a part with the little French part of the country, so there's the French there as well. So I got in a plane and I went to this country, Switzerland. Wait, no, that's not right. It's Sweden. A lot of North Americans have trouble with those two. So arriving in beautiful Stockholm, the question was the same, if people were interested in microclimate and Daylight. But of course, the language changed, but the answers were more or less the same as well. So I like to work, and I had a working permit. So I took a job at an architectural firm, making architectural renderings. Now, this was fine in the beginning. It paid the bills, but over the years, I made a lot of pictures. Now, of course, architectural renderings, they tend to idealize performance. And this wasn't at all what I was about. So this made me, well, didn't really realize it, but I was starting to become dissatisfied with my job. And after a few years, I realized I was very, very dissatisfied. But then my luck changed. Around 2009, the architectural firm I was working at was lucky enough to get a BREEAM project. And I was involved in that project. They educated me in BREEAM. And that project was the Mall of Scandinavia. And one of the credits they were going after was, in fact, the Daylight credit. So over the summer, I studied, read back, and looked at a little more at radiance, started to experiment. And that was really the start for me. Now, it wasn't long after that the Emilia Byggnads domestic environmental certification scheme was launched in Sweden. And in this scheme, Daylight was a required point. Now, it was a very popular scheme. So there started to be a little bit of demand. And then what that did is it woke up the permit authorities. Next thing I knew, everybody was screaming for Daylight reports, but there were spin-offs as well. There's also an interest in solar heat gains and direct sunlight and solar access. Now, everything wasn't perfect. There was definitely a lack of knowledge in the discipline. So I decided to get together with other specialists in the area and discuss our questions. And we launched a group called Fasadkonsult on LinkedIn. Now, it's in Swedish, the title, but majority of the dialogue is in English. So I invite everybody to join. It wasn't soon after that other experts began to take a look. And then soon other people joined. Right now, it's over 500 members. Now, initially, the members were architects, HVAC engineers, and lighting designers. So people whose jobs are focused on something else. And majority of these people were, like myself, self-taught. Now, there was a bit of a problem, and as described in this report, Danish report from 2013, there was quite a bit of problem getting robust results. As a discipline, there was a lot of questioning about how well we were doing our jobs. But meanwhile, in Helsingborg, at the Lund campus, Marie-Claude, and then later Nico, we're starting to educate people specifically on daylight. So, as Marie-Claude has pointed out, they went through a complex process where they infused the students' knowledge with critical knowledge about how to be and how to work with daylight. So if we fast forward now to 2022 and where we are today, a group of students that are also being educated at other universities, KTH, Chalmers, Danish Technical, Luleå, and this has brought credibility to our discipline. Now, there are lots of different places, firms hiring these kind of people. Now, some of them are going to be a full-time job where people are working entirely with daylight. Some of them are going to be a part-time job, as you see circled in yellow. So large architectural firms, around 100 people, medium architectural firms, 50 to 100, and medium engineering firms, you're probably going to have to do something else. But a small specialty firm like the one I work at today, or a large engineering firm, you can be entirely dedicated now to daylight. So the students all found places to work. But luckily, these students are always being replaced by more people who are also knowledgeable. And we've even seen in the last couple of years some startups of less than 5 people where students directly with limited work experience start their own daylight consultancy firms. So our workload over this time has changed quite a bit. Around 2013, I would say the majority of work was focused around working drawings. So we get this call late in the design process. Yeah, I'm looking to certify my project. Can you produce a documentation to show that I'm compliant? And of course, this was not rarely the case. So if we go forward to 2021, we have a large share of the work, which is in planning and preliminary design, somewhat into detailed designs. We still have the work in working drawings, but the focus of our practice has shifted more and more to the early stage. Now, the type of calculations we're doing, I mean, I was always doing solar access, even back in 2001, not so much, but solar access is still around. So right to light with properties and things like that. The Miljöbyggnad certification schema grew quite a bit to about 2015, and then it secured its market share. Svanen Miljömärkning, the Nordic certification label, was launched, took in daylight in 2016. It secured a good market share. But quite a bit of what we do, as I pointed out earlier, is in fact code compliance. So I would say by far that's our biggest market comes from in fact the communes and people not getting their building permits or their start of construction decisions. And then recently we've seen an increase in climate-based over the last few years, both for the European standard and of course with LEED easing their criteria somewhat with version 4.1. But perhaps most importantly now, we have a seat at the table with the planners and the architect and energy and the builder to take these discussions at an early phase. So there's lots to be excited about. There's better understanding of health benefits of daylight within our industry. There's more attention to glare and solar heating, so the balance between daylight. There's new sophisticated metrics, and there's advanced computational methods. So what we're doing today, I can pretty well assure you, will be very different in the future. When I say future, I'm talking about 10 years when I compare to what I was doing 10 years ago. But I urge daylight specialists to not get too comfortable. I don't want to be the victim of, well, what I would call the push button hobbyist. The push button hobbyist is somebody who's 99.9% of their job is something else. So it could be energy or it could be architecture. But they're looking to the job of the daylight specialist as well. And of course, the tools are becoming very, very easy to use, more and more simple, super easy, in fact, and cheap. In fact, anyone can do it. So don't get me wrong, I'm all for the democratization of the tools. But it's important that we ensure quality control and that we don't have blind faith in the metrics. If we have blind faith in the metrics, then we're just chasing numbers. Our understanding needs to go beyond that. So what does a daylight specialist offer? What do we bring to the table? Well, this is the golden slide. If you remember anything from this presentation, this is it. It's our expertise, our knowledge about regulations and certification systems, recent rulings and interpretations, and our strategy with negotiation with authorities. And then finally, with design advice. Now, when I say design advice, I think it's very important that we have a deep understanding of daylight quality, to go beyond the metrics, to move the discussion from compliance to what is more or less to have an understanding of the daylight spirit of the building. All buildings have this. And it's that sort of fundamental level that we need to be working. Because clearly there's more to daylight than the results of a calculation. And that is what we bring as daylight specialists. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Paul. This was excellent. It will be difficult for the other speakers to do anything better, and I'm one of the other speakers, so I don't know if I have to thank you or just be angry with you.
Yeah, well, don't be fooled. It's all my daughter. I did very little of it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think it was an inspiring presentation, and you touched the point there. Yeah. Don't get fooled by metrics. And if I can make a small advertisement for NLITED here, I can also add that Paul has been producing a very interesting lecture for our online teaching called Beyond the Metrics, as he mentioned. So the Pantheon from Rome that you have seen in the previous slides is one of the examples that he brings up in that lecture. So thank you for today, and thank you also for what you provided to the actual NLITED education.
Well, thank you, Nico, for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And I just also like to give a shout out to VLUX and all the wonderful work that they've been doing.